that tonight is Selectman Wilson's last meeting with us as a selectman. And I thought, and I know my colleagues fully supported taking just a couple minutes to recognize his service before and for the community. So we wanted to obviously prepare and offer you a small token of our appreciation, a plaque. I'm going to ask your sons to help me present it, because I think one of the important things here is that all of us up here appreciate that there's a time commitment and there's a level of sacrifice that goes into serving our community. Not all of us accept that responsibility, but those of us, like our children and our spouses, kind of go along for the ride, but and they have to accept that as we do. So it's a sacrifice. More often than not, I suspect we all find that it's a positive thing, but everything we deal with has its moments that are challenging as well. So we have a plaque here for you, and I'll read it. I'm going to ask your sons to present it to you, but the Board of Selectmen, on behalf of the residents of the town of Tewksbury, hereby offer sincere appreciation to Scott D. Wilson in recognition of 6 continuous years of leadership and service to the town of Tewksbury and its residents as a Selectman Chair, Charter Study Committee Chair, and as a member of the Beautification Committee, Computer Study Committee, Local Housing Partnership, Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and the Town Center Master Plan Committee. Your contributions to these various areas will have a positive and lasting impact on our community. Given this 7th day of April 2015, signed by my colleagues and myself as a member of the Board of Selectmen. So I'm going to ask your sons if they would present that to you and on behalf of our community. So I want to just offer 2 comments, and I'm going to turn to my colleagues and Town Manager Montori and Senior Town Council Zeroulas. As I think about Scott's service the last 6 years, really 2 things come to my mind. One is, I remember the first meeting that you attended, and I think about, in contrast, how bumpy and rocky that meeting was, and I think about how much you've grown in the job over those 6 years. And I've had the honor and privilege of serving with, I think, if I counted correctly, 9 selectmen over the last 7 or 8 years. And of all those selectmen, I think you have grown and matured in the responsibilities of the duties of a selectman more than anybody else. And I think that's to your credit and has benefited our town immensely. So I want to commend you for that and appreciate the value. You've become a very trusted and reasoned and reliable selectman, and I think that's really served our board particularly well, and that will be something that we definitely miss here as a group. And the second thing that I want to mention, and this is maybe more for your son's benefit, is that we in our society today, we have and we honor our public safety professionals in the fire profession and in the police profession. We refer to them as first responders because they're the ones who rush to the scene if there's a life-threatening fire, or if there's a robbery or gun shooting taking place, and they put themselves in harm's way. And while what we do here in no way equates to that level of activity and sacrifice that they put themselves on the line for every day, what I do want to do is draw an analogy in that for our board, I think of you as a first responder in the sense that you, of all the selectmen that I've served with in our current board as well, you were the one person who, more often than not, rose to the challenge on the difficult issues and took on the things that were not always popular or that weren't easy to deal with. And you, of all of us, I think stand for that person who, as a member of our board, was the first responder when there was a difficult issue to tend to. And your willingness to do that, and The price that you paid to do that personally, I think is something admirable, and I think, again, as I said a few minutes ago, greatly benefited our community, and it's underappreciated, but I know that the people up here, and I suspect many of those who are with us tonight, fully appreciate that. So I want to thank you for that. And that's a lasting legacy that I know I personally will hold as it relates to your service. So you've been a good friend and a great colleague, and I want to thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you.
So let me ask our next senior selectman, Mr. Gay, if he has any comments.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since Mr. Wilson and I have been in the same cycle, both times that he ran, I've had a great camaraderie with Scott. Scott and I have had some good debates about different issues, and we've had opinions, but we've always been professional about everything. We've always been able to work through whatever major things we're working on professionally and get them resolved and move things forward. And I've enjoyed working with you, and I have a great respect for your time on this board, and I think that you've been a great image for the Tewksbury Board of Selectmen, and I'll miss working with you, Scott.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
Mr. Pavlidis?
I've only had the pleasure of serving with Scott for 1 year on the board, but I've known Scott for a while in youth baseball and basketball and everywhere else where we have children that are similar age. But I guess I'll point out that you really learn about a person when you disagree with them. And many of you know that about a little over a year ago, there was a little thing about a slot parlor in town, and Scott and I were on the opposite sides of that debate. And at no point, even though we were completely polar opposite on the issue, at no point did that ever break down to, nasty words or calling names, and we both maintained a level of respect. And to me, when you can have that kind of conversation with somebody you disagree, that tells you a lot about a person. So, thank you, Scott, for all your service.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Montori, I know you probably like to say
No, I
a couple
don't.
words, but
Now I know what you feel like on appraisal night when you guys get there. Saying I'm going to miss Scott is an understatement. I've enjoyed working with him the past 5 years. I'm going to miss working with him in the future. Your shoes going to be really tough for someone to stand in. We talk a lot about business, a lot of phone calls, a lot of meetings. But the most enjoyable discussions I've had with Scott are about his family. He talks about the boys and he talks about Betsy all the time. And there is a time we talk on the phone that we don't end about what's going on in the family, what they're doing, what Betsy's doing with work, what the kids are doing with sports and school. And to me, it's the best part of our relationship. And I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss the Monday morning discussions with the Patriots. I'm going to miss the ideas you've come up with that we've talked about. I've known your mother longer than I've known you, and so I'm not surprised what a great selectman you turned out to be in a person based on your mom. So I'm going to miss having you as a selectman, but I want to thank you for all your support. As Todd said, all of you have taken on tough decisions in this town. I've put you in tough positions to make tough decisions, and I apologize for that. But you stood up to every test and every major decision that's faced this town, more so than any board member or board in this community. So I appreciate that. I admire that. I thank you for everything you've done for me and my family. So thank you.
thank you. Senior Town Council Zeroulis, I know you might have a couple of comments.
Thank you. There's an old adage, a great person just think the same. And what you said about Scott, I was going to say. But
That's why I went first.
I think I told you all of that about 2 weeks ago.
Nice try, nice try.
The one thing about Scott that you boys should know is person of principle, person of civility. He's always been courteous to everyone. He's always had high principles. There were 2 very difficult issues that came, unpopular issues, that came before the town. And Scott was the one person that really rose to the occasion, did what he had to do. And people often responded in uncivil ways, but he always acted as a gentleman and always acted with great civility. And as a result, this town has benefited by that type of conduct. It's easy when you're in the political sphere to become very cynical, especially, and I assume that your father's an idealist. And it's very easy to become cynical. But the great idealists have a shortcoming if they don't realize that they sometimes have to be cynical. And when you become cynical, you must become idealistic. That's this fellow. A great privilege to have served with him for the past several years. And I'm not really going to miss you in this sense. Whatever you did, I think all of us are going to remember, and therefore we can't miss you because we'll have those memories that we would not have had otherwise. So I really appreciate your service